right, so I just wanted to show some weeding tips and tricks. I've kind of gone ahead of a little bit just to save some time. So I've picked out all the centers and I've cut a box around my vinyl that actually represents my substrate, the same size of my substrate, so that when I go to apply this, I don't have to measure or figure out if it's straight or not, you know? So I've picked out all these, but I wanted to show you the difference between weeding premium vinyl versus standard intermediate vinyl versus weeding off of a polycarbonate liner. So obviously when you're weeding this, if it's a lot of little small text like this, you can actually score this very carefully, not cutting through things. You can score this to make it easier for you and attempt to weed this off of the actual liner. Keeping it very low, you can kind of pop it as you go. And if it's cut well, if it's deep enough, then you shouldn't have a whole lot of issues. It should be very easy, just like that. And as you can see, I still have my little dots and I'm not missing any letters. So it takes a little practice, but the other thing you can do, since I'm going to apply it to my substrate, is I can actually score right here and leave myself some registration marks. And that way when I go to apply it, I don't have to measure or anything. I know exactly where to go. So I'm going to finish weeding this, just keeping it really low. Kind of pop it as you go. Don't be afraid of it. And voila. Pick out that center. Go back and get up your little junk that's left behind. And now all I have to do is tape this up. There's a couple different ways you can do that. You can tear it off completely and you can kind of try to line it up yourself, you know. If it's really crooked, you can still do that. As long as you don't touch it, you can still move this and kind of put it in position, and what I call this taping things up straight. So kind of get that in there. Now I've got a nice straight line across the top of the tape. I can see where I'm going, and I can just cut this loose from the table. And then I go and I can actually apply this to my board. And once I remove the backing paper, now I actually have registration marks, so I don't have to measure or anything. I can just float it on here, get it in position, and squeegee it to my substrate. Peel off my application tape. Get rid of my little corner, and voila, perfectly straight, perfectly straight. Didn't have to measure it, right? So the other way you can do this, if you're having a difficult time weeding it off of the paper backing, is you can actually weed it off of the substrate. So in order to do that, you really want to pick out all your centers first so that you're not picking them off of the board and scratching your material. So I've done that. And then to make it a little easier on myself, I'm going to go ahead and score this so that I can do it in 1 or 2 sections. Just to kind of give you an idea. Score this. Apply some application tape. This one's giving me grief. Anyway, here we go. So carefully pull this off. And as you can, I don't know if you can see it or not, but when our plotter cut this vinyl, it was cutting too deep. So if you've got this kind of thing going on, that means your plotter blade's cutting too deep into the paper. And it makes it a lot harder to get the liner off of the vinyl. You get stuff like this all the time. And installers hate that, so really want to make sure the weight of your plotter blade is correct and it's not cutting too deep. So now we got to get rid of all these little excess things. makes my life difficult here. Let's see. Get that in there. So we're gonna try to get all this off of here. All right. So now we're going to do the same thing. We've got our box, so registration is really easy. All I have to do is line it up with the edge, kind of lay it in place, and then squeegee it to my substrate. If you get a wrinkle, just kind of pop it up, squeegee it back down, pull off my application tape, and I'm going to weed it off of the substrate instead of trying to weed it off of the backing paper. So you always want to, for letters, you always want to start on the right hand side and weed right to left, and you can just do the same thing. Pop, pay attention to what you're doing, and you can weed it right off of the substrate like that. Really easy. If it's not a sign and you're not mounting it to something, then and it's really small and intricate, I would recommend purchasing high performance vinyl on a synthetic liner. What this does is it allows you to cut a little deeper, and you don't have that paper backing. And the vinyl actually sticks to the synthetic liner better than the paper liner. So for this, you can just pretty much, once you get the hang of weeding, you can just do it all at once, because it's just, it sticks to this so much better and makes your life so much simpler. So if you've got a real complicated weeding project and you need to do 100 of them, you better spend a little extra money, buy the vinyl that is on a synthetic liner. It's a high performance, and it will make your life so much easier, okay? All right, so there you go for weeding tips and tricks.